if the government does not protect its citizenry. There will be a surge in real estate costs. So then where does that leave the average Kenyan? The city is already pricey. Welcome to BLAXIT to Africa. I'm Tadre Delora Monye, a California native living my best life in Nairobi, Kenya. Thank you for coming along for the ride. I hope that you are informed, entertained, and inspired to BLAXIT to Africa. Imagine your rent doubling, your transport fare rising, a loaf of bread or a kilo of maize costing twice as much. All because the UN decided to move some of its global headquarters to Nairobi. It sounds dramatic, but this may become reality. By 2026, agencies like UNICEF, UN Women, and UNFPA are planning to shift much of their operations here. In Gigiri and nearby neighborhoods, luxury housing is already under construction, and upscale services are gearing up for a new clientele. Who wins? Who suffers, and what can Kenya do to protect its people? We're gonna get into it. The UN has decided that it is going to relocate some of its offices to Nairobi. Now, what people fail to forget is that, what does it say? 86 UN offices are already located in Nairobi, and 73 of them are located in Gigiri, which is an upper-class neighborhood in Nairobi. Kenyans are very concerned with rising costs of living, and rightfully so. I'm someone who is from the United States. I spent my very early years, I would say my 20s, to my late 30s in Washington, D.C., and it was very traumatic to see how the city had become gentrified and people had been priced out. And I actually left before the full wave of gentrification began. People have told me, Tadra, you will not recognize the city. And literally, I've had friends take out their camera phones, drive down the city, and record. And I'm like, where is this? What happened to Chocolate City? And they're like, Tadre, it's over, it's done. So I can definitely feel where Nairobians are coming from with the fear of being displaced, the fear of costs rising, period. Already, Nairobi is one of the most expensive cities in Africa. So for people who are thinking of coming back home and people who are thinking of moving to Nairobi for the first time, you need to keep this in mind. So I'm getting this information from iRadio. This article was published in July of this year, 2025, and it says UNICEF, UNFPA, and UN Women are set to relocate their global offices from New York to the Kenyan capital, Nairobi, by 2026, making it one of just 4 cities globally alongside New York, Geneva, and Vienna to host multiple UN headquarters. So the UN seeks to decentralize operations from high-cost cities to more affordable, strategically located regions. When I came to Nairobi, one of the things that really stood out to me is how international the city actually is. There's already multiple NGOs operating here, headquarters and the like, multiple missionaries. The list goes on. And then you look at all of the international teachers, international corporations, headquarters that are located here. Chase Bank, my personal bank, is located here. They only work with business accounts in Nairobi. So I personally don't think that it's going to make a huge difference, but there will be some changes. The fears that Nairobians have about Nairobi becoming just beyond what they can afford, I think that those are real fears. However, they're estimating about a minimum of 800 new UN workers in the city. When I think about how many African Americans are here, how many Chinese are here, and the list goes on, I think that the new UN workers will really just be a drop in the bucket. Sorry, not sorry. I wanted to pop in here really quickly to remind you that I offer BLAXIT to Africa consultation services. I have partnered with Kenyan businesses to provide the services and information that you need. I also provide a spreadsheet full of live links and actual contacts of people that you can call for anything from immigration to bringing your pets with you when you come to Kenya. Additionally, I also provide a task list, just a gentle checklist to keep you on point as you go along your BLAXIT to Africa journey. Let's make your BLAXIT to Africa a success. So we have a population in Nairobi of about 5 million. People are concerned with more African Americans coming to Nairobi. The reason why I say that is because there have been some cheeky people on my TikTok who are just like, you know what, we got enough, we're full, because I'm on TikTok and I'm talking about how Kenya is a great place. And there's some people in the comments that are like, look, we good. There's probably like 500, maybe 1,000, if I'm being generous, African Americans here. Nothing to worry about. There's also a concern or a grumbling of the amount of Chinese immigrants that are here in Nairobi. And according to an article published in 2024 in Christianity Today, it says that the Chinese immigrant population in Kenya is between 20,000 and 50,000. That's a huge range. And then Gold Thread references a population of 180,000 Chinese workers throughout the country. So that was tied to statistics from 2019. So when you look at the amount of, let's say, Chinese people who do have a considerable amount of resources in Kenya and compare that to the new influx of UN workers and their families that are expected to come, it really is a drop in the bucket. What would happen if the government, if the people that ran this city and this country actually protected its citizenry? And also, let's look at what happened if it didn't. So let's look at the stats first. So Gigiri is expected to be the central base. If you go over to Gigiri now, you will see multiple UN organizations there. There's so much that is geared towards this class. You have the shopping, you have the real estate, and it's just amazing. You go to Gigiri and let's say you buy some samosas, which is a snack. How much that will cost you compared to if you go to the CBD and get those same samosas. There's a huge difference in price. And you'll find that people that are in real estate would much rather prefer to rent to people who are or who have UN contracts because they know that that money is consistent. So on the low end, it's expected about 800 people coming to the city, including their families, all the way up to 2,000. Already, as of 2025, there's already 80 UN offices located in Nairobi. So what happens if the government does not protect its citizenry? You already know it. People are already talking about it online. They're writing about it. There will be a surge in real estate costs, primarily in areas like Gigiri, surrounding areas, maybe even Westlands. I don't know how many UN workers are going to be in Kilimani, but that whole area, the prices will go up. And middle class and lower economic class Kenyans will be priced out and will be forced to move out into more suburban areas away from city centers. There may be an increase in basic services and goods at the supermarkets, etc. I don't imagine that there will be an increase in like matatu fares or an increase in items that the average Kenyan uses. However, there is usually a trickle-down effect with people just getting greedy. You can probably expect a widening in inequality and social tensions, just due to the fact that already you have certain suppliers, certain service industries, hospitality, definitely real estate, that prefer a more moneyed and international clientele. So then where does that leave the average Kenyan? There could be a strain on infrastructure. Already people are complaining about water shortages in certain neighborhoods, electrical shortages, and let's not forget about the traffic, the congestion. Like, Nairobi traffic is just next level. I do fashion and art and occasionally real estate tours in Nairobi, and we do them between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. And we are only able to cover about 3 to 4 stops within that time frame, simply because of traffic. So definitely there needs to be some more planning. So everybody is talking about the doom and gloom, what could happen, the worst case scenarios. I'd like to look at what will happen if the government and the people that run this city actually protect the interests of the citizenry. Number one, rent controls, zoning regulations. I went to ChatGPT, I'm not gonna lie. I went to ChatGPT simply because I don't have an economist here. I don't have a city planner here. But what I did do is I fact-checked ChatGPT. So this is pretty reliable, and I like this strategy. So rent controls, set legal caps or gradual limits on rent increases in certain areas. Require developers to include a portion of affordable housing in new developments. Use zoning to preserve mixed income communities. I'll be honest with you, the affordable housing in new developments, I haven't seen that work in my own country. Maybe you're from a place, or you live in a place where you've seen this affordable housing actually work. I know, for instance, in Washington, D.C., that was the case. We had new buildings being constructed, and there were certain units that were set aside for low to middle income. The issue is that how they defined low income really wasn't low income. It was like middle class. And that meant that people who were truly low income still were displaced out into the suburbs. So it says that the government can also invest in affordable housing. The government can partner with private NGOs to build housing that low and middle income folks can afford. Maybe include subsidies, tax incentives for developers who do affordable units. That's an option. Price stabilization and subsidies for basic goods, transportation, food staples, tax breaks or price ceilings for low-income consumers, subsidized public transport options, support for local suppliers to keep costs down rather than import everything for luxury markets.
We're inviting 200 plus descendants of Africa to join us in Kenya this December 2025, January 2026, for a historic gathering of cultural reconnection and economic collaboration. Hosted by Traverse Culture, the Journey Back to Eden Initiative, 2025 to 2028, strengthens ties between Kenya and its diaspora through cultural exchange, investment opportunities, and tourism promotion. This transformative end-of-year celebration will feature renowned speakers, dignitaries, and experts leading immersive cultural experiences and creating groundbreaking relationship-building opportunities. This is more than a trip. It is a movement to reconnect, invest, and celebrate. Will you answer the call?
Number 4, progressive taxation and redistribution. Increase taxes on luxury, expensive real estate, foreign staff or high earning organizations, or levies on high profit sectors. Use that revenue to fund services like water, health, education, infrastructure, or housing for poorer citizens. Yeah, I don't see that happening at all. That's like a pie in the sky. Lastly, phased or managed relocations and infrastructure planning. Plan ahead, improve roads, expand water and public supply, build more schools, clinics in areas expected to see growth, regulate how many UN staff and dependents move in, where they live, and what kind of services they demand. Require environmental and social impact assessments before permitting massive projects. I don't see that happening either. I know that private school education in this city is very expensive, to the point of where I've seen Kenyan Americans, Kenyan Brits, African Americans form their own school co-op organizations or networks because paying $10,000, $6,000 per head per semester, whatever it is just cost prohibitive. So we can also imagine that school fees are going to increase as well. So just thinking this through, I'm really wondering how this will impact the average Kenyan. Given that you already have so many multinational corporations, NGOs, missionaries, teachers here. And B, that we know that moneyed immigrants really only move and shake within their little bubbles, the areas that they feel most comfortable in. I still think that there will be some impact, though not as much as people are imagining, because the city is already pricey. I do think that there will be a trickle-down effect, especially for those who are living closer to Gigiri, closer to the CBD. There will be a trickle-down effect, and people will really have to make some difficult choices. One of the reasons why I live where I live is because of proximity to everything. Within 15 minutes, 20 minutes, I can get to every place that I need to go. And what I see happening down the line is that people who are already struggling, who are already up against it, will have to move. And that's exactly what I saw in DC. For those of us who owned our properties, we were not displaced. But one of the things that we saw is the flavor of the city changing, the demographic of the city changing, the culture changing. That for me was just difficult. It was really difficult. And we started to see a rise in violence directed towards the new residents. And I hope that that doesn't happen here. So they're saying that thousands of jobs are expected to be created in Nairobi. The question is, and this is always the question, is what will the pay scale look like? Because traditionally with these international organizations, you find that the international employees are at a very high scale, and their local counterparts who may be doing the same work or having more responsibility are being paid at a lower rate, a much lower rate. So that's, we're gonna see. There's a promise of more investments, more jobs, greater global profile, but every opportunity comes with risk, rising costs, greater inequality, and displacement. The question is not if Nairobi will change, it already has. The question is how it changes and who benefits. If the government acts now with smart regulation, solidarity, investment in the many, not just the few, Nairobi can become an inclusive global hub. But if it fails to protect its citizens, the city risks sacrifice, its heart, its diversity, its people. So as the UN sets its sights on Gigiri once again and its surrounding neighborhoods, Nairobians must ask, will we welcome growth only to be priced out of our own city, or will we build change that includes everyone? Thank you for joining me on this episode of BLAXIT to Africa. If you like what you heard, please share, subscribe, and leave a comment. May you thrive, may you be inspired, may you move with love and intention. Until next time.